Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our session this evening. Glad to see you here. We hope you're doing well. This evening, we have a very interesting topic. I'm looking forward to hearing and learning about anger management from Anne Munyao. And Anne is ready and she's eager to share with us. As I was going through the slides, they look very interesting and very informative. So Anne, I'm eager, and I'm sure everybody else is eager to just know what is this about anger management? Where are we? Are we angry? Are we mismanaging or managing our anger? So thank you very much, Anne, for even accepting to come and share with us your knowledge, and karibu sana.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Anne. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'll start by just doing a brief introduction of who I am. My name is Anne Munyao, counseling psychologist, and I'm passionate about people, passionate about feelings, passionate about our thoughts, and that's what mostly counseling is about. And just to let you know, this is not my first career. I started off as a finance person. So when I got somewhere, I knew this is not it. I practiced finance for more than 20 years. I actually did 22 and a couple of months. And somewhere along the way, I knew this is not it. So I moved. And why I give these stories because it's important to encourage someone who can be on a crossroads, that you can always go into another career. When you find your passion, you move with it. So I found passion in counseling, and for me, I find it very close to my heart. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, Anne. And that's very interesting that you hear that you are in a different field, the finance field, for quite a number of years. Then you switched over. And thank you for the encouragement for anybody who might be wondering, am I in the right career? And just to ask you, I always like to ask this, what made you feel this topic is very good for us to be able to learn? The anger management is very relevant for us during this time.
I like that question because recently, some couple of months ago, I was in a matatu going to town. So some gentleman was alighting, so he stepped on another one as he was alighting. So the other guy asked him, "Why are you stepping on me?" Then he told him, "If you don't want to be stepped on, buy your own car." And they were like, wow, what did he just say? Luckily, he was alighting, so I don't know how that story would have ended up, because the guy who was left in the matatu was red hot. So, it took me to another episode we had in some place we used to live in some apartments. So some two neighbors were fighting over parking, and it actually got bad. The neighbors had to intervene because one of them said, "I want to park my car next to my window." Remember, it's an apartment with 4 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one says, even my window is along where your car exactly is. So I should also park here because it's next to my window. When I'm in my house, I can look at my car. And it became a full-fledged fight. We had to get involved as neighbors. But how that story ended was one of them told the other, go and build your own house if you don't want to share parking. So it got me thinking, what is this anger about? Why are we so angry? On the street, someone knocks you, you ask him what he says, mind your business, yet he has hit you as he's passing. So I actually got thinking, for the last couple of days since the COVID began and we got locked indoors, I noticed there's a lot of anger, even in the media. You notice someone has picked a panga and hacked another one. Someone has been stabbed to death, like the story in Donholm, and then the story in Isili, the policemen have killed a child. And on Saturday, actually, some police officer was beaten in Mombasa because he was trying to implement the masking rules. So, and even I saw one in France last week. The passengers killed a driver. They beat him up because he said he can't carry them without masks. So what is this anger about? Actually, it has become more blown after the lockdowns. So I sought to know what is making us angry. And as a starting point, I would encourage people to chat. What makes us angry? Why are we angry? Why so much anger out there? What is going on? So for chatting, let's start by saying what is making people angry. I'm sure you've experienced in your own working place, in the neighborhood. There's a lot of anger out there. So what is happening? So you can start by chatting off that. So, Helen.
Thank you, and you can proceed with the presentation.
All right, thanks. This just, yes, this is what I was asking. What is making people angry? And always notice that anger is just one letter short of danger. What does that tell you? Anger can be dangerous. Anger can lead to irreversible effects. So when you put the D before the anger, it becomes danger. And I want us to bear that in mind, that whatever anger is uncontrolled, anger is dangerous. So even as we chat on what is making us angry, let's hold on to that it's dangerous to get excessively angry. So, now, the definition of anger. Anger actually is a basic emotional response, and we all experience anger. And that's why I thought it's a very important thing, because it can happen to any of us, anywhere, anyhow, in business, because it's an emotion that we all experience in one way or another. Then, now, anger doesn't just happen. Something has to trigger it. If I'm sitting here and doing nothing, it's very hard for me to get angry. So you find it's triggered by a threat or a perceived threat. And most times you find uncontrolled anger is from a perceived threat. Sometimes it's not real. We can imagine there's a threat about to happen, and we actually get very angry. We get angry at injustices. We see people in the streets protesting that they feel this is not fair. They feel that the police brutality is not fair. So those are the injustices. I can be angry if I'm hurt. If someone has hurt my feelings, I can be angry, or I can be frustrated. If I face an obstacle, if my plan was to do ABCD and then I'm finding frustration, then it's likely I will get angry. And anger varies from person to person. And that's why it's very interesting. As I was reading, I realized things that make me angry may not necessarily make another person angry. You find that people are not even bothered. Me, I'm busy sweating over it. Someone is moving on like nothing has happened to them. So it differs from person to person and situation to situation. There are situations that make some people angry as who are asking, kitu kidogo hivyo tu, something so small and it's annoying you, that kind of thing. And it's a feeling of displeasure with someone or something. And usually anger comes with the urge to fight back. Actually, it becomes like a competition. We want to fight. I want to be the winner. So you find that feeling of, you can't leave me like this. You can't say that and go away with it. So that's why you find that it's combined with an urge to fight back, and that's what makes anger dangerous. Now, like we said, anger is an emotional state. It varies in intensity. There's sometimes you can say, I'm so angry. And there are times you're like, this is small. And it's also a coping mechanism. Some people get angry just to cope with what is going on. And they've realized when they get angry, maybe you step back. So they've coped with that threat. And then how you deal with events that threaten the body, self-esteem or values can also be anger. And then it's also related to fear. Also, it can be destructive. Anger can be destructive and lead to problems at work, at home, in relationship, and quality of life. And that's what got me thinking about anger, because it doesn't just disappear with me as a person. It has a way it affects other people around me. And then I am feeling distressed in response to frustration or injury. And then also a result of distorted thinking. You'll find most times our anger is because of what we have conceptualized. What am I telling myself? What am I telling myself about this and this issue? So you find my distorted thoughts can lead me to be very angry. And they always say feelings are neither right or wrong. It is okay to feel angry. I think what we do with the anger is where the issue sits. So what causes anger? What causes anger? It can be external or internal events. So However, it is not the event itself that causes anger. And this is what I want us all to hold on to. Rather, the importance and meaning placed on the event by an individual is what causes anger. Like they say, you can't control what happens to you in life, your situation, your circumstances, but you can control how you react to it. And anger is one of those things. So whatever happens to us is never the issue. The issue is the meaning we put or the interpretation we put on that event or an individual. So what makes me angry may not have an effect on someone else. So, so now I chose to look at COVID-19 as one of the challenges that are making people very angry when I looked at the situations. And the biggest culprit here is financial constraints. COVID has come with job losses. COVID has come with salary cuts. COVID has come with lockdowns. So people cannot move from place to place. So what does that mean? People do not have money. And when people have money in the wallet, there's a way it gives them a sense of happiness. But you find now, if you have no money, the bills still need to be paid. People must eat. And especially if you're the breadwinner, you are likely to get angry. Because if you have no money and someone comes and says, there's no milk, there's no sugar, you are likely to jump and ask a question. But it's important to be in that awareness that yes, there are financial constraints, but get angry about it may not take us very far. And the thing is about anger is to just be able to differentiate what is within you and what you can't control. There is lots of jobs, like I said, half pay for those who are working, and lots of friends and family members through death. This is one of the biggest things that has caused anger. Loss causes anger, and mostly loss and loss of a family member or loss of a job or loss of any connections, it causes us to be angry. And then there's isolation. You know, most of us, we are social beings. We want to attach and connect with our family members and friends, but I can't leave my house, go visit a brother, a sister, a nephew, a cousin. So you find you feel that sense of anger because most of the things, the stories you go to share with the people you visit, you find you can't do it anymore. You're stuck where you are. And then also the biggest culprit again in loss and grief is the government interfering with burial rights. You saw in Kisumu the other day people protesting the burial of someone who was buried hurriedly. But what is it? We are about to get angry, but the question is, are we able to do anything about it? Is it within our scope? Can we help? So then you find spousal differences. You've seen a lot of domestic violence because you must stay together. When there was a lockdown, not going out, stay in your house, you must stay with your husband, you must stay with your wife, you must stay with the children. And you find, especially if there were differences before the lockdown, they become more amplified when you must stay together by force. That one of you can't go, there is curfew, so you're stuck together. There's this big thing now coming up, endless school or holidays. I read somewhere some child was saying him he doesn't want to repeat school and he has caused a lot of issue with that. And of course, now it's for the parents to realize he's angry. He feels he has lost a year. And he has every right to feel that way. He's justified to know at home who are supposed to join in January can't join. So you find the whole country, there's a year push. Someone has lost their job or someone has lost their career line. But what can we do? And that's part of what you see as we go on, that what is it that we can do? And then these school holidays, parents have become teachers. Children are wearing you out. What do you make them do a whole day? How can you keep them occupied? And then limitations in movement is also causing anger, and then there's too much news. I don't know who feels the way I feel. Sometimes when you switch on TV, when you switch on the social media, there's a lot happening. And there is time we started by saying, avoid reading too much news because it causes a lot of distress. Can we do something differently? Yes. Can we choose not to read too much about COVID because it's causing a lot of anger and anxiety? Now, we always say anger is only what we see. There's an anger iceberg. What you see is an angry person, but what is inside? What is below that iceberg? Sometimes we are angry, but there are other emotions below it. I could be angry because I'm feeling embarrassed. annoyed, disgusted, attacked, rejected, scared. There are so many reasons that are under there. And it's good as we listen tonight to be in the awareness. Any angry person, there could be something boiling inside. And we all call for understanding to see this is the iceberg, this is the tip I'm seeing. But what is below the tip? What is happening to this person? Has he been locked up by the police? Has he been arrested? Does he have money? Does he have other issues that are coming up? Is he worried? Is he anxious? So there are so many feelings that are hidden below the anger. So you look at it and you see an angry person, but it's who they are, what is happening inside them. And they always say behind every anger, there could be so many things. And when we come to that understanding, then we are able to understand our angry person more and even understanding our own anger. Because I could be angry because I'm afraid, I'm anxious. I don't want to be asked about the next thing, what is coming next, what is happening. So you put an anger because that's what we can see. But inside, there's a lot going on. So let's try and understand from that perspective. Now, it's always important to differentiate, and what makes anger dangerous is the aggression. Because you can be angry, but not necessarily a rage. It starts with anger, then we go into a rage, then we get into aggression. Now, anger is the feeling, aggression is the action. And that's where most times you find anger has gone wild. So aggression will cause damage with words. That's where we throw fists, we beat someone, we pick a weapon, we hit them. So it's actually designed to punish. That is what aggression does. And it's one negative way in which individuals express anger. Aggression is intended to threaten or injure the victim's security or self-esteem. Then I remembered a story some friend of mine was telling me how she realized how easy it is to kill somebody. She was supposed to be taking her son to school. So when she paid the fees, the banker's check, then she comes home, they have packed the bag. Then the son stands up and says, I'm not going to school. She tells me, I was red, I was raging. I looked for a knife, I looked. Luckily, I think the son noticed, hey, Papa, he ran away. So what does that tell you about anger? Anger can overflow into a rage, and the rage can be an aggression, which can be injurious to someone else's life. Now, when you look at that, anger and aggression, you'll actually tell someone who is having aggression, you'll invade into your personal physical space. And usually they have those gestures, like that finger, like get out of my way or something, or push, or they will do something that gets into your physical space. They will raise their voice, and even how they say it, don't speak to me like that. That is anger going into aggression. Don't take that note on me. That's another aggression thing. And then saying things with an aggressive attitude gives you much less chance of getting what you want from a situation. That's why we like saying, even when you get the aggression mode, it doesn't solve the situation that was at hand in the first place. And then the question is, when somebody said something to you, is there a time that you felt angry? And then what did you say to them? How else would you have responded in a calm, positive manner? So now, the dichotomy of anger styles. There is active, aggressive anger that people who pronounce and communicate their anger, they can be through fighting, bullying, blackmailing, accusing, shouting, sarcasm, and criticism. That is an active, aggressive anger style. Passive aggressive, they avoid communicating their anger because they do not like confrontation. We know quite a number of people, when they're angry, they will not say because they don't want the confrontation or the fight. And then sometimes they sulk or they give silent treatment. They can stay like that for days or weeks. They are not talking to you. Then there is a positive, assertive anger. You deal with anger by being controlled and confident, talking and listening, open to help in dealing with the situation. So as I look at this, what is my method of anger? Is it the active aggressive, passive aggressive, or assertive anger? Someone told me they balance them depending on who and where. So I think as I take a break, Helen, we can write this in the chats. What is your method of anger? What is it that makes you, what is it that you acquire? Is it the active, the passive, the assertive? Is it them all, or it's none of these? So we can do that. And Helen, you can check for me whether there's anything else in the chats.
Okay, and thank you so much. We are learning a lot. And some of these topics, they are very subjective, meaning everybody has experienced anger. Either you have been the one getting angry, or you have received the other side of getting anger. And I like how you shared your personal experiences, especially with the neighborhood thing and fighting over the parking spaces. And it got me thinking, how many times have I experienced anger around my environment, and am I even aware this is anger, and how it can turn to becoming dangerous? As you said, anger is one short of being dangerous. So when you asked what causes people to get angry, people responded the first question. And there is fear of unknown due to the COVID-19 crisis, salary cuts, which you have mentioned when you're giving the courses, unmet expectations. I believe we get angry because we had a plan and it seems it will not happen as planned. Unmet expectations mainly, unfinished business, personal frustrations. Great, okay, someone is appreciating the conversation. Too much news. Someone says they had to switch off completely. And then now on the dichotomy of the anger styles, someone is saying passive aggressive, assertive anger. Someone says they use all, passive aggressive, passive anger. Both 2 and 3, passive aggressive and assertive anger. Active aggressive, also depending on the situation, that still apply. Aggressor, active aggressive. Someone is asking, please tell me why when I get angry, I must break something like a glass or drop a phone. That breaking sound reduces the intensity of my anger. It's a good question. Why you feel like, you have to do something to get that anger out of your body. I used to be active aggressive, still learning to be assertive. Active aggressive. Yeah, so the good thing is this is making us be able to reflect and think within ourselves. What is my method of anger, my dichotomy of the anger styles? Where do I fall? Where am I? And that being aware of where we stand or where we lie also helps us be able to know when we are in a situation which is likely to get into an angry situation, how are we likely to react?
Oh, thank you, Helen. Maybe before we go further, because I might forget that question which has been raised, part of what we will be talking about is how to deal with anger, and throwing things is one of those things people do. But even we teach how to do it more effectively. I remember there's a friend of mine who used to punch the walls. When he's angry, punches the wall. And then he told me he realized his fingers came out bleeding. So he stopped doing that. So I asked him, what did you do? He says, I pushed the wall. So he pushes the wall and pushes instead of punching it, because he realized when he does the punching, he gets hurt. So what we do is we look at, how do we channel this anger instead of it coming into breaking things? And thank you so much, Helen, for that. So we can go on. I'll mention how to manage our anger better. And it's good that people are saying what makes them angry and met expectations. But I think let's be in that space of what can we do? What is it that we can do? Some things are beyond us. Like we said, it's about the situation and what we do with it. What is it that we can do that is more healthy? So we can go on, Helen.
Anne. Before you continue, okay, so I have 2 questions that have come to my mind. One, the issue of, we somehow always seem to go back to this, stereotypes of some ethnic communities and being prone to anger.
Okay, stereotypes.
Well, I don't know if the stereotype what it is. It is science, evidence-based. But, there's a way you've had some communities where they get angry, you better not be anywhere near them, yeah? And some
I'm laughing because I saw someone commenting on Facebook that she's going to be here because she's one of those communities. So that's why I've laughed.
Yes, and some are physically aggressive, and some are verbally aggressive. There's some people you don't want to get into a verbal conflict because they will be able to give you the whole array of words you can't even mention. And then number 2, I'm thinking, like you talked about the situation in the vehicle, in the matatu, and I'm imagining, are some people in some careers more prone or predisposed to getting angry and maybe becoming active, aggressive, or assertive anger because of the Lillian, I've seen you. She's distracted me. Yeah, so some of these careers we are in, could they be, they have either predisposed us to becoming more angry because of the scenarios you're constantly in, and maybe even some you have to learn how to become passive aggressive by virtue of the career, you know. Yeah, so I'm just asking those questions in my mind, and maybe that will also help us understand some people in some professions. You see people doing some crazy things in some careers, and you're like, how do you do that? And then we are seeing most people here who I assume are counselors, they are passive aggressive. Maybe this is the career that has made you learn how to tone and to work on the anger. Yes, and can you continue from there?
Yes, I'll quickly mention the stereotypes. There's somewhere I was reading, and the question was, what makes some people more angry than others? What makes some people angrier than others? And they said there's genetics part of it and physiology. Of course, that is where we go into nurture or nature. Nature is where there's where how we were born, the genetics, the DNA, our combination of what makes us people. Nature is the environment. You realize there are places you live in, and I was listening to Professor Atwood yesterday when they were talking about mental health, and they were saying if you live in an environment where everyone is angry or where everyone manifests their anger, they were talking about happiness. They were talking about happiness index, Kenya being which number in the world, and then they were saying, how will you be happy if you're living in an environment where no one is happy? When you get happy, actually, this you become a suspect. Why is Anne so happy when we are all so sad? Is she aware of, is she the one who is doing this to so and so, and our superstitions come in? So sometimes you find it's the where we grew and the environment, because you are elements of our own upbringing. What happens in my neighborhood that makes everyone angry? How do we deal with our conflict? So if I grew up in a community where conflict are dealt with a panga, I'm likely to pick one if I'm not in that space of being aware of what happens, that I should not be part of the community. But yes, it's possible. So the stereotyping could be a natural thing. How did we grow? Then yes, there are careers that make people angry. Have you noticed how like the police officers can be so angry? But it's because every time there's something happening, people become aggressive. So it's that aggression of active. Actually, this one is active aggressiveness. So you find every time you're stopped by a policeman, you're saying, now what? He's going to be angry, or me, I'll be angry. One of you is going to live there very angry. So there are some careers, yes, that make people angry, and especially where you have to argue with people every day, like law enforcement, that is for sure. You find you are angry because people are not listening. So yeah, there could be careers that are prone to being more angry than others. Thank you. Now, how do you know when you're getting angry? And this is how you'll be able to manage it. We all get symptoms of anger. They could be physical, they could be emotional, they could be cognitions of what we are thinking, and they could also be behavioral. Behavioral is like why you punch the wall, or you push the wall, or you go to the gym and beat that punching bag. And then also you find there are those now, the physical. I chose to study the physical because they are most common and we can actually recognize them. Even someone looking at us can tell. You find when you're angry, our body releases hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. This cortisol is a stress hormone. When you're angry, it goes high. So you find you behave differently, because what hormones do, there are chemicals in the brain that affect how I'm feeling and thinking, and then they keep me there. So find I'm so focused on the anger issue that even someone talking to me behind, I can't hear them because my mind has locked on this has to be resolved the here and now because of those brain chemicals. Physical signs could be a fast heartbeat. You could be sweating, shaking, clenched jaws, fists, fast breathing. You find you start to breathe very fast. Headaches. Some people get a stomachache, others feel an upset stomach. There's tense muscles. There could be a tight chest, even frowning, a red face, hot, Of course, the red phase applies to if your face, if your skin tone is, it's possible you can see the red. But for some of us, when we're angry, I'm not sure what we see. Hot, some feel cold, others get sick, you get a fever, dizzy, shaking or frenzy. So these are the physical signs of I'm starting to get angry, and these are the cues we talk about in management. Because you start feeling them, you know. So now, anger has its consequences. And for us to manage, we need to be in that space of knowing that anytime I get angry and push it to that other level, then there could be a consequence. Could be a strained relationship. You find like if it's a family relationship, husband, wife, children, parenting, neighbors, teachers. So strained relationships can be anywhere because of anger. Because when we are angry, we don't behave in a constructive way. We are not rational. Then there could be medical conditions like blood pressure, depression, increased heartbeats. So that could be part of the anger. Then poor work productivity. If you're so angry, then you may not do well. Could be depression, family breakdowns, self-defeating coping mechanisms could be like addictions, like smoking, drinking, or addicted to social media, to pornography. So it could be anything. When you are angry, you reach out for that as a coping mechanism. Could be personal injury, like the friend of mine was talking about punching the wall. Low self-esteem. The more angry we get, we could go into low self-esteem because we are not able to express what we are feeling. Could be crime. Angry, then you kill somebody. Angry, then you beat somebody, or you break your neighbor's car because he has parked where he should not. Then it could also be death, the more serious issue. But even as I was looking at that, I chose to let that unanswered. Do you have any positive effects of anger? I'm sure they're there. Let's chat. Let's chat about what could be positive about anger.
Positive effects of anger.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's a good one. I think I need to also think about it. Do we have any positive effects? One thing you said earlier on, which I was able to identify with, like when you were in school or even a home scenario, and someone in authority, an authority figure, when they get angry, somehow you are able to fast track whatever required to be done. The message gets home. The message is able to sink in when someone is angry, and you remember because of the way you saw them angry or what they did when they were angry, you don't want to cause that anger situation coming in again. That's one thing I think which is a positive or a benefit of anger, so to say.
I like that because I remember when we used to live in some place, we used to know the owner will come and get so upset when she finds the cushions on the floors, the tables are not wiped. We have been sitting there from lunch hour or breakfast, but when we see her, we know she'll get angry. So we all run with the tablecloths, we all run to arrange that, to switch off the TV. So I think, yeah, that's one of the positives. She used to find her house very clean, but it's because we knew what we will find if she finds it undone. So yes, there are revolutions also which have come out of anger. You find like the Martin Luther King revolutions, the ones in India, Mahatma Gandhi, the slave trade. So there are things that have come out of anger that could be positive.
Okay, I'm also
Now,
seeing
the
some
anger
comments in the
styles.
chat section, Anne.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, someone is saying, okay, some people were responding earlier on to how they respond when they're angry. Someone is saying, when I am so angry, I stutter. And the positive, someone is saying, discovering new abilities as we channel those energies, like say music, good songwriting, and art generally. Actually, it's very true.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for that. It's true. It's true. You
And
channel the anger to
I'm
something
trying to think,
positive.
do we know of any song someone has sung from a place of anger? I know people sing from a place of sorrow, sadness. I don't know if it's a song which has been sung from a place of anger. I would want to someone to share if they know one, just to be able to identify. Okay, then someone is saying at least it causes us to deal with the issue and not bury it. Aha, okay. And Faith is appreciating the discussion, and Julian is saying anger helps us to earn your respect and your space.
Wow.
And it
Defining
reminds me
your
something you said.
boundaries.
Yes, you said earlier on, some people can use anger to be able to get to be able to sort of have their winners in a situation, because they know when they get angry, you step back. Yeah. Oh,
We reach.
Rose Muhando has sung a song, Wanyamazi, she song. Okay, I think I'll go to listen to it. Positive releasing pent up anger. Anger helps me to achieve more just to prove a point, and it helps me, gives me confidence to be more independent. Rap music is inspired by anger. Okay. The famous song Takataka. Helen, many songs, an entire industry. Okay. Personally, in the workplace, when I express my anger, frustrations, tasks get done much faster. It helps us for self-defense. Yes, I think self-defense yeah, that one can be helpful. You are listened to, attention.
I like that because it means regulated anger is not bad. You are able to know. But some people even get angry when they are aware, I'm actually getting angry now and it's for this purpose.
Can someone be able to say, I'm going to get angry so that these people can do this job? Like when you is it manipulating your emotions to be able to achieve a desired outcome, so to say.
So that's a premeditated anger.
Yeah, because someone is saying that in the workplace, when I express my anger or frustration, tasks get done much faster. So, and I'm thinking even in the home, sometimes you see in the homes, sometimes mothers would just respond in a way, and I've seen so many videos around this. Mothers have somehow just know how to become angry from everything and anything, and it's their way of communicating a particular message.
Yeah, most times you find you get angry because you are not taken serious. When you start speaking, you find people are not listening, or they are not even taking the seriousness of this matter. So you raise your voice, or maybe you raise your levels of communication, so that people just start moving. So yes, you can have some thought through anger. So do we go on, Helen?
Yes, you can continue, and thank you everybody for the responses. Thank you.
I'm seeing raised hands. I don't know whether we give them after these 4 slides or something.
Oh yeah, I have. Sorry, I had seen them, but I think I got carried away with the chat. Okay. What do you say? We continue, or we give them a chance to
Let's
talk?
finish the anger styles. Then we
Okay.
pause a bit. Yes.
Okay.
So, Maya hothead. The anger styles. Some people are just hotheads. It's important to know the anger styles because you are able to handle people better or differently, or we know where not to step. Ushasikia mtu akisema, hey, hiyo ni makaa, don't step, it's hot, cool. So hothead can be one of these. They blame others for problems. They feel irritable. Some of them cry, get frustrated, and they know when they feel angry. Being a hothead can lead to anger and not accepting responsibility. There are so many of us out here. Try to understand why you felt angry and find better ways to deal with the problem. For example, ways of dealing with the anger: breathe in and out, count 1 to 10 before you lose your cool. Don't keep talking about the problem over and over again, it makes it worse. Let it go. Then we go to the second one. There are those of us who become retreaters. Some of us, like we said, we are not able, the passive aggressive. They get into bed and cover their head because they are not able to communicate what is going on. And then they decide, I don't want to get involved in these problems, and they forget things, and they choose to forget. They avoid doing big jobs, or they don't even plan. And they shy away from taking risks, and they are very cautious. These are the type of angry people who become retreaters. And being a retreater can lead to anger and frustration because you are not able to tell people what you're thinking. You're not able to discuss or communicate. Try to express your feelings, recognize and feel good about your achievement. Know what you enjoy doing and do it. Then we go to Akon collector. These are the people who don't like expressing their feelings. Note there's a difference between the one who retreats into his corner and this one who keeps everything. When he gets upset, he keeps collecting. He's actually collecting what is going on, what is inside, and they get frustrated, obviously, because they are just accumulating anger. So one day they might just blow. I keep to myself when I'm upset, and I try not to argue when I want to. And being an account collector can lead to stress, anger, and resentment. Just collecting everything everyone is saying, or they say to you, or they say to one another, and you're not expressing it. So we encourage account collectors to express their feelings and take time to relax. Now there is the commander. And the commander, uh, he says, I can't do one thing without thinking about other things I have to do. It's these kind of people, they do everything. And then in the process, they get very unhappy because they're doing everyone's job. They don't recognize anyone's achievements. Do we have such bosses in the workplaces? They worry about things. So you find instead of delegating, they want to do it themselves. And in the process, they become angry because they feel like no one is helping them. Yet, they've put up themselves for losses. They put themselves up for anger. I feel impatient if I have to wait. So they'll not delegate, and the little they give you, they come and stand at the table. They want to it done here and now. So they do things in a rushed manner. When you are a commander, you can get angry and anxious. Try to share responsibilities, identify your priorities, realize that you can't always be in control. So that is the 4 styles. And why is it helpful to know this? Understanding these styles will help you to recognize this in other people. For example, if you're dealing with a hothead, you know to give them some time and space to cool down before trying to sort out the problem because you just shout. So what anger style are you? So what are we? Are we hotheads? Are we retreaters? Are we account collectors? We take everything in, or are we commanders? We have no patience of anyone doing anything. Yeah. So before we go this, Helen, I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, we have good time.
Okay, we can look at what were the questions.
Yes, I think we can start with the people who had raised up their hands.
Yes, can you see them from where you are? Hello, Helen.
Sorry, I got muted. Clement Cheriot, you can go ahead.
Yes, that sometimes it brings positive results, but also I would wish that it is handled well. I was looking the Senate yesterday debating the CRA allocation of budgets to the counties, and I think it was really very hot. You could detect a lot of anger because some counties were going to lose. And I think at the end of it, what came out, they were able to adjourn so that they can console more. When I look at also internationally, the US recently of this George Floyd, you remember the guy who was killed by a police officer kneeling on his neck. And it has brought a lot of changes across the many states in the US, including Kentucky. There are changes in the law. It is also happening in Minnesota and several other places. So I think sometimes anger can actually bring some positive, but then again, if it is handled properly, because it can also cause a lot of violence and also aggression. Thank you.
Clement, I like that rider because you said we've not handled well. Actually, I was waiting to hear the Senate. What happened? You've seen chairs flying previously. So if anger is not well handled,
No,
you'll find chairs
they
flying.
handled it well. I think they were able to adjourn. We don't know anyway, but it looks like they will be able to address it properly so that some of especially the assault counties, are not going to lose a lot of allocation of funds that they used to get. So I think it was handled well. A number of seasoned politicians within Senate were able to propose for an adjournment so that they can go and discuss it a little bit more in a sober state. So, but this has been generated because of anger. But then again, there were some sober heads that came and actually prevailed and to adjourn the session.
So it's like anger done in moderation. Thank you, Clement, that we are
Thank
able
you.
to be in the awareness that anger can go overboard. Yes, Helen?
Thank you, Clement. Thank you, Clement, for that a very good input. On the chat section, I've seen more comments, and someone is saying, I think it's possible to fake anger to achieve something. Someone else is saying it can give energy to venture into new things to get out of a humiliating situation. It happens when you are on the phone and talking to a friend and laughing away. But as soon as you turn to your son, you are screaming. That is from a parenting perspective. When I'm angry, I get a lot of energy and can do a lot of things. For example, cleaning up the whole house by myself. Infinix is saying, when I want to change some routine that I know will get resistance, I cook anger and serve them hot. Then things change. And yes, there's laughter after that. Channeling the anger to something positive to a point, get things that require energy done. For example, scrubbing all corners of the house, making chapo. So even the bit of, when you have anger is a very intense emotion, it brings so much energy. It's like you have energy, a lot of energy when you're angry. And someone else is saying, I believe at workplace, if you are a leader, you will get work done. However, if you want to apply anger to get work done, then you are more of a manager. Yes.
Wow.
And
Not a leader.
Okay, there's
Hello,
a question.
Helen.
There's a question I forgot to ask. Someone was asking, what if there are two people being in different anger styles? For example, and imagine maybe it's a marriage context or yeah, a place where you're closely connected, and one person is aggressive, the other one is passive. How does that play out?
That's a very good question, because when one is aggressive and the other one is passive, you find there is a way the aggressive person cools down, assuming now you are getting aggressive and someone keeps quiet. So what does that tell you? They've bought their time. And it's part of how to deal with anger is buy time. Don't deal with it when it's red hot, because if you're aggressive and then she retreats, assuming it's a she or he retreats, then it's likely you might need to channel your anger somewhere else, because they have consciously or unconsciously bought time for themselves. They'll be able to have these conversations. So what we're encouraging, even if you're passive, don't put it under the carpet. Ensure that you get an appropriate time to just talk about it. And even the time, the place, and the event of how to do it. We have part of that coming up. So we can go?
Yes, Anne, you can continue.
Now, this is a big part. The anger we've discussed is positive anger, negative anger, but how do we manage it? According to the Mayo Clinic, which is based in the US, they write journals and books. They say anger management is a process of learning to recognize signs that you're becoming angry. Those are the cues, and taking action to calm down and deal with the situation in a positive way. Remember, anger will always give you cues. You'll start feeling, yeah, what does this person think I am? Who does it look at me as? Like in the traffic, that's where we are most culprits. If someone cuts in front of you, or if someone does something, we start getting charged. Who do they think I am? Who do they think they are? And you see, you can actually tell you're starting to go down that road. And they say anger management doesn't try to keep you from feeling angry or encourage you to hold it. It's a normal, healthy emotion when you know how to express it appropriately. Anger management is about learning how to do this, how to express the anger appropriately. Now, learning to control anger. By the way, this is the big take home. Even if we don't take anything else home, controlling your anger is a skill, just like learning to play football. Like any skill, to get better, you need to do more practice. What do you need to do? Practice, practice, practice. Controlling your anger is a skill, so we need to practice that. Even the self-talk, part of the ways of dealing with it is you keep reminding yourself, I must not get to that level. So then we go on and say, now there are 3 C's of dealing with anger positively. There could be more, but I picked 3. The first is communicate. Instead of fighting, let's talk about this. And you find you have more positive results when you can communicate your anger. Then cooperation. If you're arguing with a referee, you'll never win. So what is it that you can do? Cooperate, listen to what they are saying. By the way, in every anger, someone said something, but we tend not to look at their point of view. We are stuck on our own view. So we always say, if you learn to listen to the other person's point of view, what is it that they are saying? What is it that is making them angry? Because they're entitled to their feelings. And we also need to listen out, because I also have my feelings, but where is the middle ground? So they say, it's the same with bosses and people at work. If you don't cooperate, they're not going to change their mind because you have refused to cooperate. And if you're shouting at them, it becomes worse. So it becomes a battle of wills. You know, a battle of wills is who is winning, who is stronger here. You can't talk to me like that. So you find it goes down road. So you find your boss, your parent, your spouse will always be your boss, parent, and spouse. So can we choose to cooperate more, which is the name of the game? The third is compromise. When you just can't agree, instead of trying to argue, find a compromise. So where's the middle ground? For example, if you're at a workplace and it's 6 o'clock in the evening, your boss tells you to finish up a task you could otherwise have done in the morning. What could the compromise be? Maybe we can write that. What could the compromise in this situation be? So let's think about that as we go on. How can we get to compromise that everyone is happy? Now, this is a diagrammatic representation of what we can do to manage our anger. So, how to manage anger? There are 6 pictures, then after that, the explanations, like another 6 of them. So I'll just go through them because it's the big thing. We've seen we can get angry, we can choose to do this or that. But what do most people do? I heard someone saying they cook chapati. Actually, the question is, what do we do when we are angry to let off steam? Because anger comes with a lot of energy. There is something we call channel angry energy into a physical activity. Most people do that. You find they make chapati like someone has just said, or they get the house cleaned, or find them scrubbing the floor. They're channeling the negative energy. Others sing, others dance. So what is it that we do when we are angry to keep us cool down without causing any damage or without it being dangerous? There are people who walk or exercise. There are people when you go to the gym, they go to the boxing ring and punch the bag. The others who run to just let off steam. And then step away. In fact, this one works well. If you find where you are, it's not working very well, assuming it's like a cup of having an argument, it's important that you step away from that situation, because you will get more positive results if you're able to step. But the way you step is not in a way that it becomes a bigger fight. Time out. You can ask for time out. Let's take time out. Let me just take a walk. I'm coming back, or something like that. Because when you come back, something has changed. You find the steam has calmed down, and then the thought process has since changed. Reframing your thinking. You remember we said our thoughts sometimes about an issue make us angry. So what is it that I'm thinking about this matatu driver who has cut in front of me? Can I think more positively? Can I say I'll still get where I was going? What can I tell myself that is more positive than coming out and telling him things or calling him things in the presence of the children? What is it that I can do? So you have to be in that conscious space and intentional space of knowing I can reframe my thoughts so that I don't go overboard. Then try breathing. Actually, they say breathing is very good. You breathe in deeply with your nose, hold, and breathe out like someone blowing out a candle using your mouth. Breathe in through the nose, pause, breathe out. That one helps us relax instant. It's the same as counting like 1 to 10 before you respond to somebody. When you do that, you are able to change your thought process. It's able to reframe what you're about to say. Talking to somebody could be a friend, but be aware of the friends you talk to. There's somewhere I read some friends are like billboards. You tell them something, then the next thing you find it on the highway. Everyone is seeing it and knows about your story. So it could be a very close someone you can trust. If you're a child, you can talk to a parent, an auntie, a relative, or somebody who is close to you. Or also there are psychologists out there who can listen and hear. Because like we said, every human behavior is very purposeful. You don't just get angry for nothing. There could be something boiling inside you that causes you to get there. So it's important to have that discussion. Then when you identify triggers and warning signs, you are able to stay away from that anger stage that I can feel I'm starting to get angry. That's what you are saying. If you start, I'm starting to sweat, I'm starting to feel a dry tongue, I'm feeling like I'm clenching my fists. So you find now you are aware that yes, this is about to happen. So it's it's a graphical representation. So even as we come towards the end of what we can do, this is one of them. Now, the first one they say is stress. Negative stress can lead us to be very, very upset or very angry. So we can use a relaxation response. If I'm stressed about money, if I'm stressed about joblessness, I'm likely to be on the edge. Like if you touch me, I'm like a balloon, I just go. So it's important to relax and say, yeah, it's not everybody's fault, even my own fault that this is happening. So you don't have anyone to blame, but if you come to that awareness, there's so little I can do about this situation, but I can change my reaction. So that's one of the ways. So identify what is causing me the stress. Decide the best way to decrease the stress and write a plan. Actually, we tell people to keep journaling, write what is going on and what you need to do about it. And then you can put the plan into action. If I'm seeing like if I'm out of employment or my salary has reduced, can I start baking and selling cakes? Can I start selling 1, 2, 3 things to my neighbors? What can I do differently? So it's, look, if you are able to name the stressor, then you're able to do something about it. Then you're able to evaluate it. So then, now, how to disagree politely. Now, if you avoid using communication boulders, what are communication boulders when you're talking to someone? You could use a calm, polite tone of voice. Boulders could be shouting. Shouting is one of the boulders that makes people not listen to one another. If you raise your voice, my likely instinct is also to raise mine, so we don't communicate. That's a boulder. Or when I sulk, or when I pull up my shoulders like that. So you find we can't communicate because I brought about a block. And then validate my point of view. If I'm saying something that is making me angry, validate my view because it's valid according to me. So you can go something like, so the way you see it is that, and then now they confirm it to you. And then in the conversation, you can go on and say, this is what I was thinking, but first validate their point of view because it puts them in a calmness state. I like this I. We like teaching people in psychotherapy, we teach people to use the I pages. When you use I, you own. When you use you are accusing somebody. For example, let's take I'm coming home, maybe a spouse comes home late, and then the first thing I say, now you've come home late again. What is he likely to do? To either raise his voice and where is defense because he's being accused. What if I said it like this? I feel that this lateness can lead to a problem even on your part. I feel very unhappy because I couldn't sleep because you are not around. I was wondering where you were. You see, if I stay with the I, it becomes even more gentle. The way you communicate it becomes easier, even for the other person listening. But when you use you, they are bound to get. Then explain any details and thank them for listening. Most of us, we don't thank anyone for listening. So this is one of the ways you can do it. Now, how do you make a complaint to someone? If you want to complain, stay calm. Now, when you want to complain, we say get a time to talk. Realize that when you talk to someone and they are angry, you are not likely to get anything out of that conversation. Is it possible to take a rain check and talk about it tomorrow? The time to talk will be the following day or an hour later, or I've gone for my jog because I was so angry, I ran, so I've come back. So can we talk about it now? And then the place to talk about, are we talking where everyone is? Is it in a public place? Is it in the sitting room and the children are there, or I'm shouting and the other siblings to one of the child and the others are listening? So where is the place? Appropriate place so that it doesn't cause anyone embarrassment or kill their esteem. And then when we talk to people, let's look at them in the eye. And of course, when it's appropriate to do so, and the way we look must be in such a way that it's a friendly look. You can look at someone in the eye and it's a fighting mode. So it has to be that friendly look. Let's define what it is that we can do about them as we talk. And then we use again the eye messages. Let's be assertive, but stay with the eye so that we don't accuse. And then you make your request. We're actually saying the effective communication, like to raise a complaint, should be the place, the time, the emphasis on I. Then we also say address the problem, not the person. If there's an issue going up, stay with the issue. And don't bring the 100 other issues, last year it was like this, last month you did this. No, let's stay with the issue that is making me angry right now. So then we go on and see. We're about to come to the end. I think there are 3 more slides, Helen. Now, if we are able to identify the problem, we can be able to resolve it. Always name the problem. Identify your feelings and how they impact. Am I angry? Do I break things? Do I talk badly to people? Am I rude? Do I retreat when I'm angry? And then I decide decide if you want to try and resolve the conflict. And that's why we were saying some people want to keep it under the carpet, but there's a way it keeps popping up when you least expect. Then you set a time to address the conflict peacefully using the I messages, the love listening. I like the love listening, LUV, listening to understanding and validating. Most of us listen to respond. We don't even hear what the other person has said. The minute they start talking, I already have an answer. So I lose myself in the conversation. So let's use LUV, love listening, where I listen to understand and validate their point of view. Then we use problem solving. If we are low on finances, what can we do about it? Is there another way? So it's good to have problem solving skills and win-win. Some of us argue to win and the other person loses. And that's why you find the argument goes on forever, because I don't want to be the last one who has lost. So he says, I say, they say, I say. If it's a child is speaking, I'm speaking. So you find, let's all get into that state of we want to all win. Then the self-talk. Remember, we say talk to yourself. Like in the traffic jam, what are you telling yourself? And what are you saying? Remind yourself, not everyone can do things like I do. So appreciate yourself first and appreciate the other people and the space they are in. Remind yourself about patience, but the patience is a virtue. We all learn it. We all need to learn it, because anger can be solved by patience. Then think of something pleasant. Like if I'm getting very angry, I think about the beach. I can think about the mountains. The me time, take the me time and think of something pleasant. And then calming breaths. Then talk to the person using positive criticism is where, like you say, we should have done this, but we haven't done. So what do we need to do? So it's something that is positive. It's not happening, but we find ways of making it happen. So how do we fight fairly? Make sure, decide that being fair is an important quality you want to develop, and be willing to sacrifice in order to do right by other people. When we sacrifice, we fight fair. There are some of us who fight with unfairness. We know very well we are not right, but we still want to fight. So if I think of how I want to be treated, I'm likely to treat the other person in the same way. And they say, do unto others as you'd want them to do to you. It's actually in so many religions, whether Buddhism, Hindu, Islam, they always have that quote of, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. So think of how you'd want to be treated. Do I want to be shouted at? No. So then I should not shout at the other person. So I identify myself, and that is empathy. I put myself in their shoes and I try to understand from that perspective that if I don't like being shouted at, then I should not be shouting at them. And the final one is notice your triggers. Like we said, you'll always know I'm starting to get angry. Avoid those people who want to pick a fight. You'll always know someone who wants to pick a fight. The way they approach, the way they look at you, the way they say, avoid them, because they leave you now angry, and they might throw those words that leave you feeling worse. Withdraw from arguments and continue them when you're both calm. When you feel anger cues rising, use a reminder. A reminder is, for example, if like I'm starting to feel angry about the neighbor who has parked their car in my parking, let me remind myself this situation can get bad. And a reducer is like those breaths. I breathe in, count to 10, think of a pleasant scenery like flowers, like the ocean, like the mountain. Those will help reduce. Count up to 10, or then you count from 10 to 1 in reverse. It gives you time to reduce the impact of what is about to happen. And then if you can stay cool, remind yourself, actually gift yourself for staying cool. Respect. This is where most people fight because they feel not respected. Believe that others have a right to enjoy a happy life the same as you do. Do not bully, threaten, tease, personally annoy, or make fun of others. And then this is another thing that annoys, especially siblings, like in our house. Someone takes another's jacket and wears it. Do not take anyone's property without asking, because it causes a lot of anger. And then when you take someone something, or if you borrow my laptop, then take care of it. Do not vandalize it. And then you should feel pleased that you are a respectful person. And the biggest of this right now, this is the next big thing, emotional intelligence. It's the ability to detect and to manage emotional cues and information. People know their own emotions and are good at reading others' emotions, may be more effective in their anger management. So emotional intelligence has come up as a big thing, because if you're able to manage your emotions and manage other people's emotions, then you become a better manager, a better anger manager, and your job in entirety. Actually, they talk of emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and the IQ. They say if you have emotional intelligence and social intelligence, you can overtake someone with a high IQ at any time, because these two are the next big thing, social intelligence and emotional intelligence. Social intelligence is where you're able to connect. What are your connections like? Emotional intelligence to understand yourself and understand others. Now, finally, there's a strategy to help us manage anger. We use rethink. The first R is recognize when you're feeling angry, or when it's a cover up for fear, stress, shame, and fatigue. Let us recognize. The next is empathize with the person who is the target of your anger. If you're actually empathizing, is you think, what if it was me receiving what I'm about to do to Helen? How would it be like? That's empathy. T, think about what it is in the situation that is creating anger. Is there another way of thinking that might create humor or a solution? H, hear what other person is saying. When we learn to listen to one another, then we are able to hear them, and they are able to hear us. And people who are hurt, they want to be heard. Do we take time to hear what they are saying? Integrate respect and love with what you say about your anger. That is the I. And notice how your body changes when you are angry. Heartbeat quickens, teeth clench, hands perspire, etc. Practice a quick form of gaining control as counting to 10. Then K is keep your attention on the subject at hand. Don't bring up old grudges and wounds. So it's the rethink strategy that will make us manage our anger better. Recognize, empathize, think, hear, integrate, notice, keep. So that's rethink. So finally, dealing with anger. When you find yourself angry, remember, and it's in red, the only behavior you can manage is your own, not anyone else's. So if I'm starting to get angry because someone has done this, I'm only within the control of my own emotions and behavior. We actually say you can only control your own behavior and your own feelings, because the other person's behavior and feelings are not yours. So if I'm in that space of understanding, the only behavior I can manage or change is my own, then you realize that it leaves you in that place of not feeling too angry. Because like if someone is abusing you, sometimes you find it's not about you, it's something they have with them. So am I able to change my behavior about my reaction towards this? So let me pay attention to my anger cues. And if I'm feeling like I'm going to lose it, stop. Let me remind myself to stop so that I'm able to remember I can only change my own behavior, not anyone else's. Let me pay attention to when things are going bad and then when to stop. Thank you so much. I stop here.
Thank you so much, Anne. That was a wow presentation, and you have done a lot of research, you have prepared, and you have brought it out. It's such a simple word, anger, but you have brought such a wide variety of facts and truths, and you made us think about our experiences. So a very rich session we have had. So at this point, I've seen a lot of chats the chat section, so I will read them and people can be able to respond. Yes, and someone is clapping for you. Boss is clapping, they are appreciating the good work you've done. Okay. Okay, so the question one is, I am passive, my husband is aggressive, and I have never understood how to sort issues by shouting. I do not believe in shouting, and so most of the time when my husband is angry, I simply retreat and he feels even more angry. It has affected his health because he can't just control his anger. How do we help him? So that's somebody asking that question. And maybe in case we're not able to exhaust it here very completely, I think they can contact Anne. Her number is there. But Anne, we'll see how to respond to that. Okay, someone else is saying, okay, responding to the various ways they deal with the anger, listening to songs, playing music, watching dances, and physically following the moves when extremely angry. Okay, I've missed it. Okay, someone asked a very interesting question here. The opposite of anger is joy. Please allow me to ask a question that is a bit out of anger brackets. What is it that when some people are happy, they just want to have sex? As in, even when they get good news, they just want to get excited as they call their partner to bed. I ask this because I imagine it's the same topic. I pray I'm not out of the topic. I think that's something you can respond to.
Yes,
various ways of expressing emotions. Someone is saying, is it okay to express anger by writing if I am unable to express verbally when someone annoys me? Great presentation, brief and on point. Awesome presentation. Okay. Appreciating in a very big way. So anybody who wants the presentation slides, you kindly send 100 shillings to the number I'll put on the chat section. Also indicate your email address and I'll send the notes to you. Yes, I think we will, all of us want to read and even, and I also hope people, as you come for these sessions, please be coming with a notebook, because some things you may be able to, to capture or to realize when a presenter is sharing. Like for me, this has happened a lot. When someone is presenting something, you realize, I think I have been this. So it may not be in the slides, but it can be something you can be able to put in your notebook, and then you're able to continue working or journaling or following up even beyond the session. Hiya. How do you walk away from an annoying boss? You know he's annoying you, but how do you walk away without showing him? So, and I've seen a lot of questions and comments to do with boss, the place of work relationship. Maybe that's something we can look at into later. Yes, Cyprian, I agree. Anne is very calm and composed as she's talking about anger. Yes, oh my goodness, people, these comments are so many. I'm trying to go through all of them. Okay, so anyone who is asking for the slides, please don't put your email address here. I won't be able to get it. Someone is asking, is it in order to just keep quiet when you feel things are going off, but again you find it eating you up? So you maybe you take time to keep quiet and to reflect, but you find that same issue it's still eating you up inside. Is it okay to do that? And more appreciation to you, Anne. Okay, someone to do some time management. Okay. Well noted. Okay, I think I have skimmed through the comments. If I have skipped your comment, apologies, but it's also because of time and to allow Anne to be able to respond to the questions. Yes, go ahead, Anne.
Yes, the passive aggressive couple. That when the wife is, the husband is passive aggressive and the wife, no, the husband is aggressive and the wife is passive. So you find most times you find the wife will retreat. When the man becomes aggressive, she retreats. So, and that doesn't help because, of course, like she has rightly pointed, he gets more angry because he's thinking, why are you ignoring me? I've raised a point. I think we go back to what you were saying. How is the communication? Can we say, let me request we review this thing later? Because it's one thing being passive and it's another one picking it up later. Maybe you need to reflect on whether when you're passive, do you still intend to talk about it? Because there are people who are passive, but they've written it off in their mind. But to the other person, you still owe them an explanation of what it is they wanted. You still owe them a conversation. So being passive should not be used as a closure. It doesn't work like that. You must come back and say, yes, there was this conversation. So take time out, communicate the time out effectively. Say, actually, I'm not able to respond to what you're asking right now. Could we do it later? So even if you're passive, be in that space of you want to talk about it, but when the anger has come down, how do we help him? Yes, you might find that sometimes it can be something manifesting. I said sometimes you find people's anger is something that that is what is inside them. So it's important that you seek help, both can be couple therapy, can be you first start with your own individual therapy. Sometimes you may find the other partner is not willing, but because you pointed it out, it's important you can do your own therapy to be able to get into that space of trying to get better understanding, or even to understand why is it that you're passive. You know, you can be passive not because you're made that way. You're passive because something happened that every time an argument starts, you read. So it's important to get your own counseling so that you're able to find yourself in that space of what is it that makes me retreat. Not necessarily you, but you find most people like they retreat because when they were children, if someone raised their voice, then you find they used to hide. So you're still hiding in your adulthood. It's important to find that space here. The opposite of anger is joy, and people want to have sex when they're happy. And of course, they don't want to have sex when they're angry. So the reverse is also true. What happens when we are happy? We raise our dopamine hormones. The chemicals that make us feel good are called dopamines and endorphins. So what happens when we are happy? We get that good feeling. So when you get the good feeling, sex is also another thing that boosts the dopamine and the endorphins. So you want to end up there. But like I say, the reverse is also true. When you are cortisol and adrenaline are high, there is nothing you'll go close to sex, because it means the feel good hormones have since disappeared. You've loaded stress hormones. Yeah, so it's possible. Yes, that's what happens. Joy gives us a lot of dopamine and endorphins that makes us want to do things that still make us more happy. Can you write your anger down instead of verbally communicating it? Yes, you can write it down, but with a caveat that I'm writing down. You see what you are writing, it's likely your partner will not respond. So you are left angry. So write it down and say, let's pick an appropriate time when we can review this. But for now, I wanted to write it down. We can have a talk. So at the end of the day, you never lose out on the talking. Communication face-to-face is important. It could be even on phone if someone is away. But even if you write down, make an appointment to have a discussion that you can look at them in the eye and say, this is how I feel. How do you walk away from an annoying boss? There are people who perfected the art of humor, by the way. And I was reading somewhere today. There are people who will walk out even from a situation by being humorous. The boss could be annoying, but there's always something you can find that is positive to say. Maybe even what I used to see, we used to take a rain check. If the boss is annoying, maybe you can say, oh, let me go and finish the numbers or something, because I was an accountant then. Let me go and finish those numbers, then I'll come back, we talk about it. And you look very calm, but inside you're boiling. And I remember there was that part of emotional intelligence of managing. There are things you say, we used to call them posing for the camera. You're looking very happy, but inside you're dying. You know those ones of you're smiling, but inside, because your boss is your boss. So you learn how to manage him, you learn where not to go, and you learn how to create humor even in his anger. You are able to make him ease out so that you take off. Of course, when you take off is to reflect some more and see how do I reapproach this issue. Yeah. Finally, I keep quiet when things are going off. I think that was the question. Yes, this thing of silent treatment, or you decide not to say anything when things are going off, always remember, please, they'll come and haunt you later. Most people I meet in therapy is because they kept quiet on things that I noticed this was not working. I kept quiet. I noticed this was working. I kept quiet. It's like having a pressure cooker that is boiling and then you've pressed something on top of it. So you find people become aggressive, or they start developing aggression because they need an outlet. So the outlets, be very careful, the outlets come. So when you see something is not going off well, you may not say it immediately because it's at the heat of the moment, but take time out and communicate it. I'll still stay with the communication. Maybe, Helen, you should do a topic on communication skills.
Thank you. And I think, yes, I've seen questions and more are coming in, and I think we can plan for that. Okay, kindly allow me to just raise the other questions that have come in, then we can now wind up. What if the spouse doesn't want to talk after such anger, just giving you silent treatment? Almost similar to the other question, Anne. Yes. Then just an inquiry, maybe I missed a point. Are the notes on sale, or just a dispatch for awareness and knowledge? Okay, the notes are, we ask you to send 100 shillings to be able to allow us to be able to continue the sessions. That's how we're able to raise the money we need to have the sessions continuing. So that is the reason why we charge the 100 shillings. Yes. So for anybody who wants the notes, I've put the number there. It's 00111 630 Also send your email address to the same number as you send the 100 shillings via M-Pesa. Someone else is asking, Yukabet is asking, are these joy and anger hormones genetic, in the sense that some seem to be missing them? Yes, Anne.
In the sense that
some people seem to be, they're asking, some people seem to be missing or don't have maybe the intensity,
the joy
or
and
the
anger.
level. Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Is that all? I've copied 2 questions.
Yes, that is all.
Okay. Let me start with the first question. What is it when the spouse does not want to talk? And that is normal. There are people who don't want to talk, but you've lived with them, you know their moods. So always know how to catch them. And I always say, make a date. In couples therapy, we make a date, like let's go out, let's go have 1, 2, 3, let's go nyamachoma. Because out there, people will be civil. They will behave differently, because if you're sitting like in a coffee shop, there is no way you start hurling words and being nasty to one another. So being out there helps you to be civil. So even if they don't want to talk now, find them when they're in the right state of mind and mood. There's always a time they're happy. It's not like they're always angry. Catch it. Catch that mood, catch that opportunity, and use it to your advantage, because it's something important. Joy and anger is not genetic. I think it's about choices. Actually, when I was reading about anger management, I realized there's a theory called choice theory by a guy called William Glasser. And he talked about the choices that we make. That choose what we do today so that tomorrow will be a better day. So if I choose to be happy, regardless of how much you push down on my throat, I will still draw from my happiness, because these are some life choices. But yes, there are those that run in families, and you find it's the, like we said, it's nurturing. How was their upbringing? Was that family functional? Because you may find the family may not have been very functional. You find now we developed anger as part of our coping mechanisms. Or we are angry with the environment, we are angry with what the parents were doing as children. So when we grow up, we bring that into our own. There's a way we parent and behave the way we were parented and people behaved around us, because we learn more by observation. That is how human beings learn. So the thing is, joy and anger is not necessarily genetic, it's about choices. And also we can't ignore the environment that we came from, that there was always something to be happy about. There was singing, there was dancing. And then so coming to the awareness of where I'm coming from has affected me in this way is one of the best things, because you can do something about it. Awareness is always the key to everything, because you can change your situation, you can revise your life situation, you can stop the blaming, you are able to move to the next positive thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And I think we can wind up at that particular point. And thank you for the very well elaborate presentation and for the questions. It has been very, very interactive. We were not able to go live on Facebook today. We had a technical hitch. So in case anybody was trying to get us from there, apologies for that. And then we take a break tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday, then we have a session on Friday. So tomorrow we'll take a break, and Thursday as well. Then we resume on Friday. So thank you, everybody. I welcome you to also follow our Facebook page, Psychologist Voice Kenya, and you'll be able to be updated on what is happening, sessions we are having. I'll have the link put up shortly. So welcome to follow up on what is happening and to continue sharing and listening. Thank you, Anne. That was a fantastic presentation. You know, your counseling skills, you've come out very, very well. I don't even know how to bring that out. Okay, I'm now seeing more questions in the chat section. Some of them I can't respond to them now, but we will keep the best place to be able to follow on the chat, on the progress or when is the next session